is made known to those who search, who look for its hidden clues.
The Book of Kells was the work of three main artists. The French art historian François Hongry called the artist of the Cairo page the goldsmith, not only for his use of yellow, but also for the fine detail of his work, which was reminiscent of metalwork. The goldsmith was also responsible for the 8-circle cross page. The illustrator is the name she gave to the artist who executed the Temptation page, and the page normally identified as the Arrest of Christ. Additionally, there is the portrait painter, as she called him, who was responsible for the depiction of the Virgin and Child. In contrast to the personalities that François Hongry gave the artists, she simply termed the scribes A, B and C, to which I am inclined to add a fourth scribe, D. Scribe A was a sober and conservative scribe who concentrated entirely on script. On the other hand, Scribe B was a flamboyant personality who clearly enjoyed using different coloured inks. Scribe C integrated his script closely into the decoration. Scribe D I regard as the most accomplished of all. In some places, I have the impression that he was responsible both for decoration as well as script.
There were various types of inks used in writing manuscripts. The most common type of ink was made from oak apples. According to tradition in Ireland, ink was also made using holly. We know this from the wonderful poem to St. Columba.
My hand is cramped from penwork. My quill has a tempered point. Its bird mouth spurts a blue, dark beetle sparkle of ink. Wisdom keeps welling in streams from my fine-drawn sallow hand. River run on the vellum of ink from green-skinned holly. My small runny pen keeps going through books, through thick and thin to enrich the scholar's holdings. Penwork that cramps my hand.
We look at the origins of some of the pigments. Some of them are local gorses, woads, various plant extracts, mineral extracts produced locally. Others are very exotic. Ultramarine, made from lapis lazuli, only found in the foothills of the Himalayas at the period. What does that tell us about the trade links into which these remote centres were ultimately plugged in? In Kells, they go a stage further. They overpaint with colour washes. They engage in a little bit of sort of pointillist optical mixing by having different little decorative motifs overlying a base colour. Kells, however, has to rely on orpiment, a trisulfide of arsenic, to give it a very bright yellow, which takes the place of gold.
The Book of Kells was written on prepared calfskin, otherwise known as vellum. To prepare vellum, the hair was removed from the skin by immersing it in lime, followed by working it with a knife. It can be calculated that the Book of Kells in its original state used the skins of around 185 calves.
Well, the Book of Kells has got a feature in it that is not found in most other manuscripts. Instead of a hyphen at the end of a line, if you can't finish a word, they'd have a little animal or a little bird or something, bringing the last couple of letters of the line down below, or sometimes up above. And there's a couple of them which are exceptionally amusing, including little greenish dog. And the sentence above is et bebebant uxores docebant. And having drunk, the wives became more docile. And he's literally got one paw up, shielding his eyes from uxores, which means wives. In other words, he doesn't want to see his wives. He's afraid of them, in spite of their drinking.
Seems to me that the artists are representing their own communities, and that some of the drawings of the monkish figures in the background look very like cartoons of well-known faces in the community. There is humour and fun, as well as high art and deep theology. In the passage of Scripture where it says that no man can serve two masters, either he will love the one or hate the other, is very pointedly illustrated, where we see two men struggling and pulling one another's beards, and hiding below the letter, slinking away in the corner, is the man who is serving two masters.
Well, the Book of Kells is full of humorous animals. I have at home a dog, and when he wants to get in, he climbs on the window and he puts his two paws and he looks forward like that, looks pathetically into you. Now, he's exactly like the dog in the Book of Kells, putting his paws on the table and trying to see what he can get off it. The initials are quite amusing. But one of my favourites is an initial where you have two figures, a long cat-like figure who is scratching his head, the back of his head, with one hand, biting his nails with the other hand, looking off the page, by the way, and his legs come down are in a twist. And he's wondering where the hell the mouse he was chasing is gone. But right behind him, on his back as it were, curled up, is the mouse, also biting his nails and looking scared, wondering how the hell is he going to get away from the cat. It is, in fact, a precursor, if you like, of Tom and Jerry.
Picts are best known for their animal art, and all this is very familiar in the Book of Kells. What happens in this later Pictish sculpture also is that there is this additional development which we can see. Vine scroll. I am the true vine of the Bible, the blood of Christ represented by the grapes of the vine. The snake also is a heavily symbolic animal. We associate snakes with evil in particular because of the Garden of Eden, but in lore of this period the snake was also a wise animal. Also it was an animal who, by sloughing its skin, was a symbol of rebirth through baptism, or indeed of resurrection. Christ's period in the tomb being paralleled with the snake sloughing of its skin and emerging anew. The use of animals almost in an organic way, as though they were growing plants coming together, is something that you find in Kells. And the side panels to the St Andrew's sarcophagus has this same kind of organic animal ornament. The sarcophagus also shows the access Picts had to sophisticated and valuable objects which they could incorporate in their art. The figure of David resembles the figurative style in Kells, very close indeed, for example, to the arrest of Christ, the Christ figure. But the whole sway of the figure and the way in which the lion is moulded into the body of David shows that we are dealing here certainly with an ivory probably produced in Constantinople.
We know that many such Byzantine ivories from the East Mediterranean made their way over sea lanes